Hi.
Hi everyone.
Welcome back.
How is your Friday going? And is this the Halloween weekend?
No. Halloween. Well, maybe yes. Some people have it before Halloween and some people have it after. Because Halloween is the 31st of October.
Okay.
So it depends. But hi.
Hi everyone.
And happy Alan Wake Day.
Happy Alan Wake Day. We can start by saying thank you so much to PlayStation Norge and Alan Wake Official.
Yes, thank you very much.
They gave us a code to the game. And this is probably one of the most anticipated horror games.
Yeah.
It's pretty much up there with Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Yeah.
It's so heavily requested, and I can't believe that we're finally having it.
It's incredible, because I never played the first Alan Wake when it came out in 2010, I think it was, 2010, 2013? 2010, oh, because it's 13 years ago, yeah, 2010.
Yeah,
and
it's a long time.
Yeah, and then we played the Alan Wake Remastered one, or Remake one.
2 years ago, and it was really good.
Is it 2 years?
I think it's 2 years.
I said not that long ago. So
not that long
670 days later.
Kim is a liar. Yeah, I believe it's 2 years ago. And
shit, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god, it's making me sick. But yeah.
I might be wrong, but I do think it's 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am kind of surprised that we got it so fast after.
Yeah.
It could be that we played it at the start of last year. I'm not sure.
I honestly don't remember. The only thing I remember is that I love the storytelling.
Yeah.
I've heard that because since I didn't play the first game, I noticed that people saying that the remaster, they did some quality of life changes that was severely needed in that game.
And even with that, the game clearly, it's a good game. I think Alan Wake is a good game, don't get me wrong. I know this is a really powerful fanbase, which I am not going to get on my bad side.
Yeah, not in this era, John. Not in this era.
Not in this era. However, I did like it.
I'm sorry.
However, I did like it. But when I played the Alan Wake Remastered together with Kim, we always felt that it could have leaned more into horror instead of, because you often run around almost action focused.
Oh yeah.
And the camera pans out a little bit. It almost to a degree of an action game, but it doesn't feel like an action game because you have the dodge mechanic, you have the flashlight, you have your gun, if I remember correctly. But now apparently it's going more for the whole over-the-shoulder, a character plays down to the left side, Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 and 4 Remake style, which I think is a good approach.
Yeah, but one could also argue with that Alan Wake came out in 2010. There's not that many games. They try to do something their own style. I mean, after Resident Evil 4 came out on Nintendo GameCube first, so many games and game developers want to do the same thing. Over the shoulder, the action hero tilt a little bit to the left.
There was a lot of the same.
Yeah, it was like Resident Evil, Dead Space, then God of War has done the same thing.
Now, 2018.
Yeah, but it's not the same genre. But the thing is that it's kind of like a thing that works, and I feel that Alan Wake, because that gaming company was not that well renowned. I don't
think it was, because Alan Wake 1 was their first game, I think.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I can't remember, but I think it was Alan Wake 1. And then further down the line, they made a Quantum Break game, which I played a little of. They tried to mix serious together with a deep storytelling. And I think it was the actor for Iceman in X-Men that played the main character there.
Oh, cool.
And
I don't know.
I remember trying it and I really liked it, but it was I was never able to finish it. Hi Blue Dragon, and hi Aqua, and everyone. I'm very
Max Payne.
Oh, they made Max Payne. Okay,
yeah.
Is that where you take so you get the slow-mo effect?
Yes.
Is it?
Or no?
I think it's the slow-mo effect. Don't you get like a slow bullet hell mode where everything
Isn't
is
that...
It is?
Yes, okay, because when I thinking about slow-mo games like that, the only 2 games that comes to mind is the Enter the Matrix on Nintendo GameCube or PlayStation 2. Holy fucking shit, it was so bad.
It is bullet time. Okay.
Yeah, and then Bandai, before they turned into Bandai Namco, they had a game called Dead to Rights. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Because I think the same developers on Dead to Rights, they made the Enter the Matrix game, so they just reskinned the game, and suddenly he's a policeman in China or something.
Oh, you also had the Jet Li game where you play where you fight with the...
That's right.
Oh, what's that called?
Jet Li the game.
Chan and Jet Li the games.
Jet Li the game, yeah. Hello, Yami.
Hi, Yami. 19 months.
Holy
Jesus
shit.
Christ. We're 2 stream babies.
Yes. Hi, Fairy. Welcome in.
Hi. Shall I say for a mullet?
Yeah. But what we're gonna do today is that because we played the remake, but we want to get a recap of the game. There is a YouTube channel called GameSpot. They have...
Everyone knows what GameSpot is.
I'm just saying, in case. And they have a very good recap for 12 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, gotten a lot of praise that it's actually a really good recap, so let's watch it before we go into Alan Wake 2.
I think that's a good choice because I remember that the game was crazy, but I don't remember how crazy. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a very vast universe, and I think I also saw that their game Control is also set in the same universe.
Yeah.
So I'm just like...
Control
what?
and the other game, the guy who twists and turns back time or stuff, isn't it? Quantum Break?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, this
So there
here
Oi!
is crazy today.
You got Jing Liu? Oh, she's so cool. Isn't that a new character?
Oh, did you get her? The Ice Queen?
Oh, she looks amazing though.
Destruction unit.
There we go. You can fix the rest.
Shall I? Okay. Ready? You ready?
Yeah.
A sequel to
Oh my god, that was loud. Okay, I'm not ready, apparently.
Alan Wake once seemed impossible, with the original Alan Wake launching in 2010 and becoming the sort of cult classic that is fondly remembered by fans but typically not expanded upon in an industry obsessed with mega hits. However, after 13 years, one quasi-sequel and one DLC tie-in, Remedy is finally returning to its well of inky darkness and releasing the sequel, Alan Wake 2, which shifts into full-on survival horror, introduces a second playable character, and continues to build on the Remedy Connected Universe's elaborate lore. Whether you simply want a refresher of what's happened already, you need a complete introduction to the world of Alan Wake, or you just want to see how your favorite fan theories are doing before you dive into the sequel, here's everything that's happened in the Alan Wake story so far. The story of Alan Wake kicks off in the Pacific Northwest in 2010 in the ominously named Bright Falls, Washington, a logging and mining-oriented town that harbors a dark secret. For Alan and his wife Alice, however, it's meant to be a safe haven for the ever-disgruntled and writer's-blocked Alan to rest his head and take some time away from the hustle and bustle of New York City.
That's
right.
Life
He has
as a
writer's
best-selling
block.
crime author.
I remember.
Alan and Alice arrive at their secluded bird-like cabin, which sits by its lonesome atop Cauldron Lake. Though the views are incredible.
Imagine having an Airfares community event there.
Of their stay. The hot-headed Alan storms out of the cabin in a huff when he discovers Alice brought a typewriter with the hope that Alan might find more success writing given his change of scenery. Rather rudely, he leaves his nyctophobic, that means afraid of the dark, wife alone in the creepy cabin during a power outage, and immediately lives to regret it as Alice is attacked by a dark presence just seconds later. Alan rushes in but manages only to witness her be pulled into the infinite darkness of Cauldron Lake. Suddenly feeling heroic, he jumps in after her. The next thing he knows, Alan awakens from behind the wheel of a crashed car, alone in the woods of Bright Falls, other than a strange apparition clad in a diving suit that acts as Alan's part-time guiding light. Don't worry, we'll get back to this. Alan soon discovers he's missing a week of time. To make matters worse, he starts to find pages of a manuscript he supposedly wrote, and the events described on the pages begin coming to life. That would be fine if the author were writing about a good night's sleep or eating cake.
Thank you, Max.
Ja, det kom idag, Max.
Kom till dag.
It is out today, so we are going to watch a recap and then we're jumping in. I'm so excited.
Maybe we should have the...
maybe, yeah. We can do that.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Click for settings. Well, I maybe they had width settings.
But why?
Okay. I was hoping they had not auto-generated.
Yeah,
but
I don't think
Alan's
we can get better
so
than
lucky.
that. Thank you so much for the
His story
resub.
is a horror story.
39 months?
Axe-wielding
Jesus.
maniacs, possessed construction trucks, and Hitchcockian birds all
27
have it out for
oktober
him.
idag.
Eventually, he catches his breath and gets the attention of Sheriff Sarah Breaker, who delivers the bad news that Bird Lake Cabin hasn't existed for decades, and it was destroyed by a volcanic eruption, leaving Alan's head hurting more than when he crashed his car. Soon after, his loud-mouthed but endlessly faithful literary agent Barry Wheeler shows up in town to defend his client,
the video going
as
crazy?
Alan gains the attention of local authorities, what with the whole crashing cars and misplacing wives routine.
Sorry.
Alan spends the next several days in Bright Falls being pulled ceaselessly farther down a rabbit hole of Stephen King-like oddities. Though Breaker is cautiously helpful toward Alan, others are much less intentioned. The FBI shows up, led by an alcohol-abusing special agent named Nightingale, who seems to assume Alan's guilt before he even crosses the town's border. After relentlessly evading both him and the shadowy monsters shaped like townsfolk called the Taken, Alan meets up with a local who claims to have kidnapped his wife and is holding her for ransom. As it turns out, the self-proclaimed kidnapper is just a crony for Dr. Emil Hartman, a local therapist who specializes, or more accurately preys on, artists such as painters, musicians, video game developers, and writers. Either by temptation or corruption, Hartman seeks to utilize the Dark Presence for his own good, but just as he acted as the marionette to that kidnapper, it seems the Dark Presence was pulling his strings too. Hartman is attacked in a supernatural assault on a mental health facility, and Alan barely makes it out alive. Before he left the facility, Alan was able to get to know Tor and Odin Anderson, the two old-timers from town who know a lot more than they were willing to let on in front of the doctor. The Anderson brothers direct Alan to their farm, where they promise the writer some much-needed answers. There, with Barry, Alan begins to understand the nature of the town's monster. The Dark Presence lurking in Bright Falls is empowered by art, and it manipulates artists to grow itself stronger through the worlds they imbue with purpose, like a song by the Andersons under their moniker The Old Gods of Asgard, or a story like that written by Alan during his missing week, during which time the Dark Presence served as something like his evil editor. By doing this, the Dark Presence is able to grow its influence beyond its domain, known as the Dark Place.
Remember her.
A subjective supernatural realm that can appear different to different people, but is never the type of place one would want to land in. Alan seeks out the Lady of the Light, a spot-on callback to Twin Peaks' Log Lady, who understands better than anyone in town what exactly is going on. If it's not yet weird enough for you, here's where things really start to unravel. The Lady of the Light, Cynthia Weaver, explains to Alan that she's seen what is happening before, back in the 1970s when it was a poet named Thomas Zane who was manipulated by the Dark Presence. In that case, the darkness kidnapped and eventually took on the appearance of his lover, Barbara Jagger. Zane stumbled his way to a conclusion that perhaps could have rescued Jagger and instead lost her for good. Now it's Alan's turn to try and save his love from the same cruel fate. The ghostly diver Alan has been seeing turns out to be Zane, who has been trying to guide Alan to a happier ending than he got himself. To that end, Weaver explains to Alan that Zane left behind a shoebox specifically for Alan to find years later. In it rests the Clicker, a portion of a broken light switch Alan used to play with as a child. To Alan and players alike, the reveal becomes a headache-inducing time loop. How did Zane write into reality this clicker that comes from Alan's time as a kid? Or did he not do it at all? Did Alan write Zane into existence? It's the story's best chicken and egg scenario in a basket full of fan theories and lingering mysteries. And not to get too far ahead, but Fans are still trying to make sense of it today. However, the clicker got there. Alan comes to understand his purpose. He must correct Zane's wrongs, which led to his partner's demise, in order to save Alice. Alan takes the clicker and, after a long march through hell, finally comes face to face with the dark presence, once more wearing Jagger's likeness. Alan understands that a horror story requires sacrifice and balance. The writer can't create the happy ending they may want. It doesn't make narrative sense, and that allows the strangely art-obsessed dark presence to prey on those who get greedy.
Oh my god, then how?
To improve on Zane's unintentionally tragic conclusion, Alan writes a new ending to the story. He thrusts the clicker into the black heart of Barbara Jagger and turns it on, sending a burst of magical light scorching through the monster. She is defeated, but not entirely. Instead, it's enough to create an opening for Alice to escape the dark presence. She emerges from the depths of Cauldron Lake and swims to shore shaken, but otherwise seemingly okay despite having spent over a week in the dark place. Alan makes his much-needed sacrifice, submitting himself to the dark place in place of Alice. In doing so, Zane informs Alan that a doppelganger, whose name can't be heard over a scratching sound that is formed when Zane says it, thus earning him the name Mr. Scratch, will take Alan's place while Alan is away from the physical world from which he came. Alan then sits and prepares to write his exit in a story titled Return. The original game ends this way, though through 2 DLC chapters we see Alan growing stronger and becoming more familiar with the dark place. He can manipulate the world using words more intricately than before, bringing objects into existence that may aid him as he tries to escape the dark place. The mainline game ends with Alan stuck there, though players would get to explore it more in 2012 with the game's pseudo-sequel, Alan Wake's American Nightmare. In American Nightmare, the theme of time loops returns, this time to tell a story of Alan further exploring the dark place, now presented as the fictional southwestern-looking town of Night Springs, which shares a name with the in-universe Twilight Zone-like TV series. All the while, Alan's doppelganger, Mr. Scratch, seems to wreak havoc in the real world. Alan's disappearance from his normal life and the surrounding events of Bright Falls have given birth to urban legends of a writer, Alan, who snapped and started killing people during a vacation with his wife. These rumors manifest as Mr. Scratch, who is basically Alan's evil twin that becomes a real-life serial killer. Through a series of looping events orchestrated by Mr. Scratch to keep Alan imprisoned forever in the dark place, Alan is aided by a trio of women, none of whom are Alice or even anyone familiar to the players, taking up residence at a motel, a theater, and an observatory. Each woman holds a different part of the solution to defeating Mr. Scratch, but the problem is they each keep dying, or Alan otherwise fails in his attempts to gather all he needs. His task is to create the perfect loop and save all of them so that they can survive long enough to help them too. After everything he needs to defeat Mr. Scratch. The twins have their showdown at the movie theater where it's revealed that Alan's secret weapon was a movie Alice made that writes Mr. Scratch out of existence. It works, and Alan and Alice share a loving embrace at the end of the game. However, a narrator's voice calls into question whether the events of American Nightmare really happened, or if they were just Alan's tortured daydreams while he remained stuck in the dark place. And in case you're wondering, Remedy does consider this game canon to the overarching story.
Okay.
That was all the Alan Wake story we were served for nearly a decade. Then, in 2020, Remedy's latest game at that time, Control, confirmed the speculation that Control and Alan Wake shared a universe in a DLC chapter called AWE, even elaborating with quite a lot of new material. Collectively, players now know these games and others yet to come as the Remedy Connected Universe. The name AWE officially refers to the idea of an altered world event, a term for the wild stuff that happens around the country that is then investigated by the Federal Bureau of Control, which is like if Scully and Mulder's X-Files division had proper funding. However, fans have reasonably joked that AWE also means Alan Wake expansion, since that's effectively what this DLC was. In AWE, we learn a lot about the current state of things in the modern Remedy Connected Universe as it pertains to Alan Wake. For one, we learn that the events of Bright Falls, including Alan's saga, Zane's saga, and at least one more unspecified event that predates either of those, have been classified as altered world events. Some in-game hints also seem to suggest that Alan may have birthed the FBC itself through his abilities to alter reality through writing. ending, though a summer 2023 chat with Remedy's Sam Lake clarified for us that this is not the case. We also learned that Alan is still missing in the present day, and that Alice is haunted by nightmarish images of her long-lost love. It's assumed by many that the wicked person she is seeing is actually Mr. Scratch, and that he was not truly defeated in the events of American Nightmare. We also learned that the FBC investigated Dr. Hartman's activities surrounding Cauldron Lake's special properties. Hartman eventually dove into the lake himself, but was consumed by the darkness, much like Barbara Jagger and others were, which led him to being imprisoned within the oldest house, the shape-shifting physical, but also metaphysical, headquarters for the FBC. As the entity, Hartman broke free, which led the FBC to retreat and seal up the wing of the oldest house that stored much of the Bright Falls investigation materials. During the events of Control, when the supernatural Hiss took over the building, the two monstrous entities, the Dark Presence and the Hiss, merged with Hartman to create a third worse thing. Jesse Faden, the playable character in Control, eventually defeats Hartman, if we can still call him that, and once and for all cleanses the investigations wing of its monster problem. In Marvel-esque fashion, we then get a teaser for what's to come. Computers within the oldest house begin reporting on a new AWE occurring in Bright Falls, only it's oddly set in the future, a meta-nod to the fact that Alan Wake was still a few years off. And that is the entire Alan Wake story so far. For everything Alan Wake 2, including everything you need to know about the new game and our
that's amazing.
Review, stick here to GameSpot.
That was a very good recap.
Yeah.
Thank you, GameSpot. That was very good.
So crazy. It's just crazy.
It is crazy indeed.
Okay. That's very nice. I am very, very excited.
Yeah, me too.
I'm ready to jump in and get my shit scared out of me.
I think when story gets convoluted like that, I usually tend to be very invested.
It's